In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, and I would like to thank again Claudia for very beautiful and informative presentation. When I was thinking, about the topic of house, I thought of many elements in Islamic understanding of house, and of course many of them are, I think, common in Islam and Christianity. And I try to refer to some of these things, and maybe they can be organized better than what I am doing now. So, but I'm just sharing some of my thoughts. I was thinking that maybe we can say, if we want to summarize it, and then we can expand it, our house is supposed to be our first place of worship. It's a real if you call it temple, or place of worship, or mosque or church. I was first thinking maybe I can say it's a second, but then I thought no, actually this is the first, and the second is where we get together as community for worship. Otherwise, the very first place of worship is our house. And we have lots of emphasis in our hadiths, in our narrations, about the need of making part of our worship in the house and not always in the mosque. Although, it's very important for us to go to the mosque and get together, have congregational prayer. But on the other hand, we are advised not to make everything in the mosque. For example, there's a hadith that the Prophet said, "Nawwaru buyutakum bitilawatil Quran." Illuminate your houses with recitation of the Quran, and don't make it like graves. Means by abandoning recitation of the Quran, abandoning prayer in home, and make it a place that has no life. So our worship, our reading of the scripture, reflections, give life to the house, and we should make sure that this life and light are there. And in another hadith, our sixth Imam, Imam Sadiq, Imam of the Shia, he says, إن البيت إذا كان فيه المرء المسلم يتلو القرآن يتراءى أهل السماء كما يتراءى أهل الدنيا الكوكب الدري في السماء. The house in which a person recites the word of God shines and illuminates for the inhabitants of the sky as stars illuminate for inhabitants of the earth. And we have similar concept in different hadiths. So our first place of worship is our house, and it is in such sacred place that we have opportunity to grow individually, to build family, to have children and raise children, because we need a sacred place to have family, because family, Islamic understanding, is the most sacred construction. And we have famous hadith that the Prophet said, no construction has ever been built in Islam better than marriage. So family is very important, and family needs a sacred place So house is a sacred place for a sacred household. And part of this is made with our consciousness of God in the house. Part of it is with the cleanliness of the house. Part of it is with the beauty of the house. Part of it is with the peace of mind that members of the house should, establish, that I can, go to home and get rid of my worries as much as possible and help others to get. Maybe we cannot have control over all over the city or world, but at least we can internally build peace and trust and understanding and love, and every time we go home empower ourselves and charge ourselves with energy, so that we go back to the work or society, community, then we can function properly. So it's a place which is very sacred, has to be kept very clean. We have this concept that when Moses for the first time was going to receive revelation, we have similar, I think, in the Bible, when he saw the fire on the bush, then God told him, فَخْلَعْ نَعْلَيْكَ إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوًى. Remove your shoes. You are in a holy land. And Moses had to remove his shoes. And once in Dubai, we had a scriptural reasoning with people from US and other countries, Muslims and Christians. And I said, maybe when we say remove your shoes, two things come to our mind. One is shoes are used outside and they may have dust and dirt from outside. We don't want to bring this into a sacred place. So we have to remove the shoes and enter. But maybe another element is that as long as you have your shoes on, maybe you don't feel you are comfortable. You feel, it's a place that you have to be formal and you have to somehow, but when you want to be very much to yourself, and I don't know, maybe in our culture it's like this, I don't know, maybe people who are used to having shoes all the time, I don't know, but for us, as long as we have shoes, it's a signal that I cannot be very relaxed. It's not my comfort zone. So when you are in a holy place, you don't bring your shoes, because first you don't want to bring anything from worldly, dirt into this physically and spiritually. And also you want to feel at home. When you are with God, you have to feel at home. So when we go to the mosque, we don't go with the shoes to the prayer hall. The same is when we go to home. Because everywhere at home, I should be able to say my prayer. Although it is advised that we have a special place designated for prayer at home, it's advised, to keep a small musalla for yourself at home, that always you pray there. But technically, it's important that all my house is clean, so that if I have guests, I have many people that they want to say the prayer, we can use any room. So this concept of home being a place that when needed can be converted in a place of worship to have, congregational prayer, I think it keeps reminding to you of the sacredness of home. And part of it is physical, part of it is spiritual. And I was thinking that it is very interesting that I think Claudia also mentioned that in our home we can welcome others. I was thinking about this concept also when God talks about his house, because Islamically we consider mosques as houses of God, and Kaaba in Mecca we consider it Baytullah, the house of God. And this house is actually not for God himself to settle or dwell in. This is a place for God to make himself present to us. So that if we want to have some more focused, although God has no place, but if we want to have more focused understanding of the presence of God, whereas individuals and as all Muslim universal nation, we can focus on presence of God. God says, this is my house. Means this is where I can welcome all of you, and you can find my presence there stronger. So house is the first place of worship, is the sacred place for personal growth, for having family, for raising children, but also a place to welcome others and to let them feel that they are dear to you and you love them, you trust them. You don't take everyone to your home. Maybe you can take them to your office, for example, or meet them in a coffee shop. But you bring people to home when you have a special relation with them. And I think this is very important, because this is again a sacredness of the home. Sacred. I don't take everyone to my family, unless I trust them. So this is another aspect of house. And then for us Shia, we have also a special attention to the household of the Prophet. We say we are followers of Ahlul Bayt. Maybe you have heard the term Ahlul Bayt, like Glasgow Ahlul Bayt, Scotland Ahlul Bayt. So Ahlul Bayt means the people of the house or household of the Prophet. So this is rooted in the Quran, because the Quran talks about household of prophets and household of the Prophet, and the way God has purified them. So it's interesting, instead of just saying family of the Prophet, which we can say, you can say, Alu Rasulullah. But sometimes instead of saying Alu Rasulullah, we say people of the house of Rasulullah. You see the difference? If it's just say family of the Prophet, then it's just individuals. But when we say household, means there is a sacred space, and these people live in that sacred space. It's more than just individuals. When you talk about family, maybe you can think of a family without house. But our understanding is that family and household, it means family with a sacred space around them. So this is also very important for the Shia, the concept of household of the Prophet. And we believe that all the shrines are actually different extensions of the house of the Prophet. So even if you go to Mashhad in Iran, or to Najaf, or to Karbala, we believe that we are entering the house of the Prophet, and therefore we seek permission for entrance. One of the manners of entering into a house is to ask for permission, and then to say salam, to offer your greetings of peace. So for everyone I should ask for permission, but especially for entering the house of the Prophet, the Quran says that لا تدخلوا بيوت النبي إلا أن يؤذن لكم. So I should ask for permission, and this has a spiritual element also, so that it means that I have to think why I am entering, what I want to achieve, what manners I should have when I am visiting. So every place, every shrine is an extension of the house of the Prophet. And hopefully, if we act properly, if we are conscious of God, if in our family we have established among ourselves love for God, then even our house in every place in the world, in every country, can be also extension of the same house of the Prophet. And interestingly, we understand that houses of all the prophets are also connected with each other. In some of the salutations that we recite when we visit shrines, we start with saying salam and greetings to Adam, to Noah, to Abraham, to Moses, to Jesus. We go to a Muslim shrine, but we say our greetings to Jesus, to Moses, because we believe spiritually all these houses are connected with each other. For us, our houses are physically, separate from each other, but spiritually there is no reason why we cannot live in the same spiritual house. So this is also something that for us, especially as Shia, is very important. And also another element which is very important, my last point, is a special connection between house and night. Actually, in Arabic, we have different terms for house. One term is bait, and bait is where you spend your night. So, because night is very sacred, and night is also made by God for tranquility and for rest of the body and the soul, so it's very important that in the house we should have some time during the night that we can connect to God. And this is what we cannot do, in the mosque. Mosque might be closed, or it's for community. In the house, there must be moments in the night that we are together, but also moments that we are privately connecting to God. Maybe every person in his own corner or somewhere, but this concept of house and spending night in a spiritual way are very much connected with each other. So it's not as Claudia mentioned beautifully, it's not an office or a hotel or some. So it's a place of awareness, consciousness, and a place where you can connect to each other, but a place that you can have moments of privacy with God. So this is, I think, also important. So I am not very much, I think, doing justice, but I just try to share a few points about different aspects of house, and I hope it's useful.